Shih Tzus. They're cute. I have a Shih Tzu. His name is Bug. I love my Bug more than anything. That's the intro. In all seriousness though, when it comes to sponsored content, or even sponsored segments, I've always had a motto that I will only accept them from products or companies that I personally enjoy, so my recommendations and comments are completely sincere. So when I woke up and got a sponsor proposal from a legitimately cool game studio, and the first thing I made direct eye contact with was a cute little doggy that looks nearly identical to my Bug in a cute little captain outfit, of course I had to investigate further. And of course if I were to pursue it, hypothetically, I would probably donate a large portion of it to puppy rescues, because if Bug were able to make financial decisions, he'd probably buy an abundance of belly rubs and food. I give him like an hour of belly rubs a day, so luckily he's covered on that front. But on the food note, I went ahead and made him a little meatloaf cake that you can see him eating with a link in the description or in the pinned comment. As well as a certain link to a certain game's certain Steam page, hint hint. But other than that, he'd probably want some more Shih Tzu friends to play with, so we're going to go ahead and help some puppies out. For the entire month of June, 1/3 of the revenue the channel gets, whether it be from Patreon, YouTube, merch, or what have you, everything will be donated. I'll post an update to this later on, but here with us today to help us out is this cute little game called Go Fight Fantastic. GFF is a top-down, hack-and-slash, almost ARPG-esque type game that isn't out yet, but a demo is on Steam, and I've actually had quite a lot of fun with it. So much so that I've actually pursued the top of the leaderboard against a menace to gamer society that is Squares, and after I'm not even joking, 4 hours I think, I was finally able to do it after a perfect run. I may have developed severe carpal tunnel in the process because I went for a fuck-off APM build that required me to stutter step my heart out, but I'd say it was well worth it. So anyways, as of right now, the demo has single player and couch co-op with online multiplayer coming out when the game fully launches. I played this solo because all of my friends have moved away from the super flat biome which I reside in, and I also don't have a couch. I mean, I could have used Steam to alleviate the former, but you can't really emulate a sofa. So we're going single player. Anyways, if you're curious what this game is about, there's a dog. His name is not Bug, it's actually Captain Bowie, which is almost just as adorable, but I will refer to him as Bug for the rest of the video. By his superfluous will, he sends us to Bird Planet, which is rather predictably a planet that inhabits birds. You aren't allowed to defy this order, as he seems to be impervious to attack, and reasoning seems to be a fruitless endeavor, so we land on the Borb planet ready to commit comic antics. The story mode, for now, is only one chapter, but while launching the game I had the option to select a Nightmare difficulty, and that in particular really called to me on a spiritual level. Upon landing though, we get greeted by this jolly fellow, and run around town committing comic antics. I'm not a particularly big fan of the journalism thing of saying, oh, this reminds me of X. You know, this isn't the Dark Souls of birds, but in a lot of ways this game reminds me of a cutesy Hades, which is absolutely not a bad thing because that game absolutely rocks. Never mind, but if the Shih Tzus got this, they're on their own. It's time to fight. I am a rather ADHD individual, so of course my calling came to the Ranger because there's absolutely nothing more I love in video games than stutter stepping. Also, I didn't realize it until way later on, but this character is a war criminal because funny improvised explosions and funny blood weapons. So maybe my calling was in the stars this entire time. Anyways, what this funky individual here taught me is it's probably not a good idea to use just one character. At least not solo. So let me go ahead and lay out my exquisite wombo combo setup. So we have 4 characters at our disposal, following your standard ranger slash assassin slash vanguard slash healer composition. You can choose up to 3 in single player, so I chose to bench the healer because you don't need to be healed if you just never get hit. So our tank lady over here has an AoE grapple slash stun, which pulls everything in a small radius towards you, which I usually combine with my ranger's blood bombs and critical arrows to do a massive burst to pretty much any enemy around a decent chunk around me. And I do mean this sincerely, despite what my voice would tell you. I really don't want this to sound like a backhanded compliment, but the combos and hidden details every ability has here is really freaking cool. To take that last example, one thing that really helped me out immensely is that the bombs apply an AoE slow around a target area, so I not only have a longer window to properly set up my burst, but I can also use them as pseudo-minefields to move around and set them off while enemies are chasing me. We also have a giant knockback hammer, which I found extremely useful in dragging enemies into those giant burst windows I talked about. And all of this completely disregards the potential abilities of my second or third character slots. The game isn't even fully released, and I'm already sounding like an addled World of Warcraft Mythic Plus veteran. Anyways, back to the problem. This boss right here requires immense single target damage. I don't really have access to burst. So after about 10 minutes of throwing myself at a wall, I finally developed a game plan. There's a pillar in the middle of the arena that I can kite the boss around endlessly. He does have an AoE attack, so I can't exactly camp right by it, but the iconic video game strategy of Ring Around a Rosie is still as viable as ever. This buys me a lot of time, and that time is time that I can spend planting bombs. However, I can only set 2 down at any given moment, so I can only potentially go up to 4 with this strategy if I immediately plant 2 down and wait for the other 2 to recharge. And this is good, but it unfortunately doesn't deal enough damage to get past the shield, even with a fully charged auto attack after using my mobility. So I started using my little lightsaber rogue man that has pretty good single target burst with a stun that can repeatedly target the same enemy, and ways to deal lots of damage in a short window. So with all this combined, with the stun, not having to worry about getting hit by the AoE, and all of the bombs set down, I should be able to combine these to barely do enough damage to get past this sheet. I am no longer content with just leaving the puppies alone. I need to figure out how to siphon funds from these rescues. Yeah, so, I died. And it was upon landing back in the ship that I made a very grand realization. I was getting upgrades. Very impactful upgrades. You are probably not supposed to fight this boss on Nightmare difficulty without upgrades. So equipping some that boosted my auto attack damage, I went back and absolutely annihilated the poor guy. But that's quitter talk, and frankly, I do not care for that result, so let's unequip all of these upgrades and get back in there. Oh, when I was asleep, they nerfed the boss. Oh shit. Well, what about the next boss? I'm sure with upgrades it couldn't be as bad. So, with that crushing defeat, haha puns, I want to go ahead and transition this towards highlighting Horde mode. I really enjoyed Horde mode because a lot of upgrades seem to scale a lot better in that. Remember how I was mentioning that I got to the top of the leaderboard after APMing my heart out? So the way I did that was actually just running Ranger, and going in with absolutely nothing but base damage upgrades. In a campaign setting, this is fine, I guess. There's a lot of other upgrades that work way better on their own, but in Horde mode, since the upgrades are percent scaling, not only do I get a ton more damage per upgrade, but also the initially low attack speed is easily remedied with an upgrade or two. And with the charge shots doing AoE damage, I was kind of going Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. Did you need to know this information? Probably not. Will it be relevant when the game releases? I really don't think so. Only 1 out of 6 chapters are released, and there's a set time limit right now, but god damn it, I had to sit through 4 hours of Ranger Osu, so you're going to hear about math. Something tells me an exploit may have been found, or maybe the leaderboards also include parties. I don't know. Anyways, other than sitting through this for 3 hours, the mode was really fun. Right now it's really on the simple side because demo. The enemy variety in particular is pretty small right now, but there's actually a ton of potential here. Again, this is only the first chapter out of 6, and I'm genuinely really excited to see how this game fares on launch. And this isn't me faking monotone and disingenuous enthusiasm for charity or whatever. The developers seem to really love what they're doing, and I wish them and their game the best. Just seeing these guys work on the game and seeing their chats in Discord, I don't know, it's hard to not be enthusiastic with them. I have a few minor complaints and nitpicks, sure. The dialogue is a little bit too zoomery for me at times, for lack of a better word. Some HUD elements could be improved. For example, it always felt rough fighting a group of enemies and not knowing where my health was at. And on an extremely particular note, I feel like you should be able to swap to a specific character with a button press. But besides from those very surface level and easily remedied nitpick on a literal demo of a game, the game was really damn fun, and I'm really optimistic for the launch and for the game's release. This is where I must very adamantly remind you that there is a demo available on Steam for a limited time. Also, if you're interested, feel free to wishlist the full game on Steam so you know when it comes out. And as another reminder, Best Friends Animal Society is a cool charity that will be receiving financial compensation for my shenanigans. So if you want to support them either directly or indirectly, you, kind of are just by watching this, so pat yourself on the back, bud. You're helping little puppies in need, and you should feel happy about that. Thank you all so much for watching. I know this video was a bit on the shorter side, and it isn't what I usually do. But I have a massive video dissecting video game towns on the horizon, which is yet another addition to the overanalyzing is fun niche I'm settling myself into. If you have them, please pet your adorable little guys or gals for me, of course assuming they enjoy to be petted, and as always, I sincerely hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.